Hello DevOps people, happy Friday everyone. How are you? Welcome to Full Stack Live. I'm Jochen, the Monospace Mentor, and this is my office hour in which I simply rely on you to ask questions so I can answer them. And this is one of my easier live streams where I don't have to think about, oh, what am I going to do today? And do I have to prepare something? Nope, I don't. I simply sit here and wait for you to ask stuff or simply to have a little bit of a nice conversation. So if there's anything that you'd like to ask, don't hold back. There are no silly questions. Well, there are, but don't. If it's a sincere question, I'll do my best to answer it, regardless if it's an entry-level question or if it's a really tricky thing. So yeah, this is a very open office hour where you can ask stuff about Linux system administration, about Ruby coding, software engineering, or IT in general, career questions, things about interviews, whatever you are interested in. And if you think I can help you, pop into chat and ask. Or I'd like to try something new actually today. So I've discovered this new, well, it's not new, but I discovered this app that allows people like me, educators, to do polls and Q&A sessions and stuff like that easily and in a very structured way. So let's give this a try, shall we? I have never used it before, especially not with an audience, and it would really help me if we could give this a test drive and I could see how it actually works. So what I'm talking about is the Vivox app, and the Vivox app is at vivox.app. You can either go there on your browser, or there is an actual Vivox app for smartphones as well. And you simply enter our session ID, which is 146153780, as you can see on the screen, or you can simply use the QR code to get there. And at the moment, I've only enabled the Q&A feature so that I can see the questions that you are asking. You can also upvote questions from others, which is also a nice little feature that you can actually give questions of other people a little boost. And yeah, I'd be curious how this works. If you'd like to help me give this a test drive, I would highly appreciate it. But of course, if you don't have the mind space for that, simply ask your questions in Twitch or YouTube chat, and I get those as well. So yeah, other than that, there's not much to be said. In my live stream yesterday, I did some refactoring and some cleanup of infrastructure as code, and that was quite successful, and I was able to submit 2 merge requests, and so I will continue working on our database infrastructure for the coming days, and probably also live streams. If you want to catch me doing real day-to-day work, you can do that as well on my live streams on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons at 2 p.m. UTC, which is also my local time here in Ireland. Okay, that being said, if you would join me on Vivox and would like to ask your questions there, it would really be helpful for me just to test drive this application and see if it's actually something that I can put to use in my courses, in my workshops, on Zoom calls and things like that. I'm really curious, and yeah, I apologize for using you as my guinea pigs, but that's the ideal situation. So if you want to help me here, go to vivox.app, enter the ID that you can see on screen. It's 146153780, or simply use the QR code to join me on this platform, and you'll find the Q&A feature there where you can ask questions, and I'll be able to see them and also highlight them on screen, which also makes things a little bit easier for the stream, because when people join and I'm already mid-answer, they can actually see what I'm referring to and have a little bit more context. That's one of the things that I really like about this platform. It allows me to give everyone a little bit of context what I'm babbling on about, and so yeah, it might actually be really helpful. I haven't tested that yet, though. All right, so while I'm waiting for questions to come in, either on chat here on Twitch or YouTube, or on the Vivox app, I'll simply lean back and relax a little bit and have a cup of coffee. I made myself fresh coffee just before starting the stream, so cheers. Early today, I made myself coffee as well, and immediately spilt it. Not everything, but got a bit of coffee on my pants and stuff, and that was pretty annoying. I just realized that it's not quite as convenient to monitor 2 types of chats. So I'll have to find a way to do this in a more structured way. Let me see if I pull this out. Maybe we can get it a bit side by side, so I can actually see when something pops up. And again, I mean, it's okay if you want to lurk, that's perfectly fine, but this is my office hour, so I have reserved time to answer questions. Keep me occupied, please. If it's about Linux, about Ruby, about programming in general, any kind of open source stuff, I'm more than happy to have a conversation and help you out if I can. If you'd like to share something that you'd like to talk about, for example, if there's an open source software that you are excited about, or if there is something that you are struggling with in terms of software development or system administration, then yeah, maybe I can be of help. I usually also answer questions that come from my Monospace community on our Discord server, but there aren't any questions that I haven't yet covered at the moment, so I'm relying on you as my viewers to contribute a few new challenges. Let me open my window so I can get a little bit of fresh air. That is better. Why do you want just asking hello to you? Thank you for joining us here on the Monospace Office Hour. If you have any questions, post them either in chat or to vvox.app, or go to vvox.app and use the ID that's displayed on screen to post your questions. Question, split or no split keyboards? That is easily answered because I've set up a new camera. I actually did not set up microphone, so give me a second to do that, but I can already show you what I'm using today. And I did actually set up the microphone. That's brilliant. So you can actually hear me. Okay. So today I'm using my Korn. It's quite a minimal keyboard, but it has all the buttons that I need. And I'm actually using a fairly new keyboard layout on it. I tried home row mods for quite a while, but I never could get the timing 100% right, and that's why I'm now using a keyboard layout that is inspired by the well-known Callum layout that uses one-shot modifiers. Okay, there are more people who don't like home row modifiers, apparently. I found them quite nifty and useful, but yeah, it's just these final few percent in accuracy that basically spoil the whole thing. And yeah, always getting lowercase letters when I didn't want them, or uppercase letters for that matter. Whatever. Yeah, it wasn't really fun, and that is why I decided to give a more conventional layout a try. And you can actually find my layouts on GitHub as well. If you're interested, I'll post a link. It's at github.com/gviz. Yeah, that's of course also an option. You can use a keyboard. I think the Kyria, for example, has a few more thumb keys. The Planck is not a split keyboard, but it has a full row of thumb keys, basically. So you have 10 thumb keys with that keyboard. That's also an option, of course. So you have all the modifiers like on a full-size keyboard as well. In my case, I have the modifiers on layers, but they are sticky keys. So I can actually enable the control key, for example, and then after that press another key to do something like Control C or something. It's a little bit more typing that way. That's the main difference to home row mods. It's a little bit, it takes a few more keystrokes to be precise, and but I don't mind that. Redux is also a very popular layout, yeah. I wouldn't have the time to design my own keyboard, and there are so many keyboards out there that actually meet my needs that I don't think I can afford doing something like that, even if I would like to, which I don't actually. I'm not that much into tinkering with keyboards. Tinkering with software is more up my alley, and so spending a little bit of time in QMK and do clever things, that's definitely something I'm inclined to do. But keyboard design is something that didn't really or hasn't really appealed to me. Well, if you actually do design a keyboard, that's definitely a point of pride. Being able to say, well, yeah, I designed this myself and had it built or built it myself. That's definitely something that you can boast with. Again, today I'm doing a experiment. I'd like to try the Vvox service to do question and answer streams, and I'd also like to try it to use it for questionnaires, for polls and things like that during my courses and workshops. But I haven't really tried Vvox, and I guess you need a few people to really try it. So if you can take the time to simply sign into vvox.app with the ID that's on screen. and post questions there. That would give me an insight into how this thing works. And Vivox is anonymous. You don't have to create a user account or something. Of course, you can log in, and that's brilliant. That does work. Okay, so that went on screen right away. As you can see, there are no names connected to it, and I'll definitely... No, I can't upvote it. Others can, but apparently I can't. Now, if I set this as a favorite, it's only marked. Okay. I can move it, and what happens if I... if I click it here, I can highlight it so people know what I'm referring to. So whoever did actually post this, thank you. That already taught me something. And of course, I'll post the link to chat. There is actually also a link that gets you right into the current session. Let me find that for you. Copies. That's just the session ID. That's something that I'm asking myself at the moment. Can I give you a full-fledged link that will get you into our session right away? It doesn't look like it. I can share links with moderators. Yeah, definitely. If I want to engage people on this, I should make it as convenient as possible. And something that I'd like to do in the future, if this works, is that I can simply prepare a link that will always be the same, something on the monospacementor.com URL domain, and so I can simply point you to, say, monospacementor.com/QA, and it'll get you there right away. But there's no obvious way. Oh wait, I can open the participant app, which should be the participant link as well. Oh, so that is actually using the ID. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, so I can even construct the URL if I want to. Here you go. That's the URL that gets you right into our session. And if I click it again, it goes back again. This is quite nice, actually. Okay, so now I just have to find a way to get a static domain name or static URL to point to our current session. So here is test question 2, and my answer is test answer 2. Very nice. So I guess I would have to join as a participant, if that's possible. And here's the Q&A section, and then I can go and upvote the question with the link in chat, which was definitely helpful. Okay. If I pretend to be a participant, I can actually give out thumbs ups. I like this. I mean, obviously it was built for this exact use case, Can I delete questions? Yes, there is a moderation feature as well. So I can even edit. What does edit do? Okay. So I can actually even change a question. That is not something that I would have expected. And I can also delete a question. So if I delete this, for example, if it was something abusive, then I can also simply delete that. What if the session ID is dynamic? Would the link work? The session ID is actually dynamic. You set up sessions basically for every stream or call or workshop that you do, and you get a new session ID. And that's why I'll have to think about how to deal with this dynamic thing. Because the monospacementor.com website is a static website, so I would have to change the redirects file and deploy the website every time I start a new Vvox session, which seems a little bit tedious. Maybe you have a suggestion how else I could do that. Maybe I'll use some external service where I can do this more conveniently simply by entering the ID into a form, or I could simply update a command like the office hour command. Actually, let me do that. So or I could even create a new command for that, but I guess the office hour command is actually ideal for that. Let me update that. Join the Q&A session here to post your, or just here, and then that's that. So save that. And now if I do office hour, I think that's a convenient way to do this. I'll have to update that, of course, ahead of every stream, but that does make sense. That's not too bad. And I think the participant app, yeah, it starts with the home screen. Why is there just the welcome text? Is there something I can put here to... Oh, yes, of course. Okay. Wait. Aha, I can't change the text for the app home screen. That is a premium feature, but I'll be happy to pay for this service, actually. But if I change that, I can actually change the home screen content, and that way I can point people to say, okay, click the speech bubble in the title bar to join the Q&A. So yeah, folks, what do you think about this? Does this make sense? Does this do you think that's going to be helpful to moderate these Q&A sessions, or to use that for, say, doing quizzes. We could do Linux quizzes or things like that. Shell variable quizzes. Can I do this on the fly, or would I have to shut down the session? Let me see. Let's switch to polls. And I can create a new poll, actually. Which shell variable? Which variable tells the shell where to look for commands? Is it so? We can now open the poll. And you can vote what you think the correct answer is going to be. Let me see where this, yeah, that should actually now have popped up on your screen, and you can select the answer right on your, in your web session. Simply click the answer that you think is correct. Hey Inode, welcome to the Stag. And of course, the whole name of the game is not to spoil the answer in chat. All right, so I'll close the poll in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we can see the results on screen. Since we had 3 participants, one of you chose $env and 2 of you chose $path. And while you weren't just asking, of course, spoiled it. But hey, I didn't tell you the rules in advance, so that's fine. Yeah, the correct answer is $path. $env is actually not a common environment variable. It is actually used in some programming languages. $env is used, I think, both in Perl and in Ruby to actually access the environment variables. But on the shell itself, $env doesn't actually have any meaning except if you give it an individual meaning yourself. $shell tells you which shell is running at the moment, and $command_dears is something that I invented myself. Yeah, thanks, Inode. I think, yeah, if there isn't an API that I could access, but couldn't even think of a way how this API would tell me my current... Well, yeah, it should, if I make an authenticated API request, and I guess I can only have... No, I can't. Actually, there is a multi-user mode where the same account can run multiple sessions. So you could have a Vivox account for a whole school, for example, and all the teachers would have their own sessions. I'm not sure if there even would be a convenient way to ask the API about my particular session. Well, it should be tied to my name somehow and my account, so... Yeah, but that sounds more convoluted than actually editing a single chat command in advance of the stream. I can simply add that to my pre-flight checklist, and then it's just the office hour command that'll give you the current URL. And even if I forget about that and someone uses the office hour command and I realize, oh, that's an old URL, then I can quickly update that too. API-driven stuff is nice, but there is a certain amount of effort that is required, and that's not always warranted. All right, so let's go back. I can go... Oh yeah, I'll simply do show Q&A again, and here we are back in our Q&A where you can answer, where you can ask questions. It's up to me to answer them, and of course up to the chat as well. So if some of you want to hop in and help with a question, feel free to do so too. But yeah, I do like that. This does look promising. You know what? I'll try and find out if there is an API. It does not look like it, no. The search function in the Vivox help doesn't turn up anything if I search for API. But that's not tragic. Someone's using Arch, by the way. That is an interesting question. Basically, connecting chat and so live stream chat with this feature, with this app, but since they don't have an API, I don't think that's possible at the moment, and it might actually be a little bit confusing if questions appear in two places at the same time. So I'd rather ask people to join there, especially since it allows you to join anonymously. That is a great idea, that you don't have to create just another user account to do this. This would be a real detriment, I think, if joining this would be harder than it has to be. So, yeah, this is definitely something I'll keep in the back of my mind. If it's going to be possible at one point, I might actually choose to do that, but for the time being, I'll ask you folks simply to join me on this platform, which seems to be easy enough. New to Arch Linux, how to learn it? Well, simply by using it, actually. And the first port of call when you have questions about stuff that you are struggling with is the Arch Wiki. The Arch Linux is in parts more famous for its wiki than for its distribution itself, simply because the wiki is so useful, not only for Arch user, by the way. Many of the things that the Arch Wiki covers apply to all Linux distributions in general. And so even me, who while I did use Manjaro, which is based on Arch for a while, I then switched to Fedora. And even now that I've been using Fedora for a year or so, I pop up on the Arch Linux, on the Arch wiki from time to time, simply to find stuff that I need to resolve or need to find out more about. As Trump says, the Arch wiki is useful for every distribution, but especially, of course, if you are using Arch. So if you haven't looked at the Arch wiki yet, that's highly recommended, definitely. And other than that, I guess another recommendation I would give is simply to use the Linux distribution for what you've set it up for. So if you want to do software development on it, then do so. If you want to do office work on that, then try out a few office applications and see how they are useful. Learning by doing is definitely something that's a common approach in the open source community. And it's actually quite effective as well. It might take you on a few detours, and you might get sidetracked by other stuff, but still, practice makes perfect. If you want to know more about Linux in general, then there are of course also many ways, and one thing that I'm working on at the moment is a full-fledged Linux course for system administrators that will get you from basically beginner level to an advanced level where you can actually run web-based services and other network services on Linux, and even use it to run stuff like Docker containers or even a Kubernetes setup. And yeah, that'll take me a few more months to get ready, but that's definitely something that's on my plate right now. What I do offer is the Linux community course. Which is not based on my own material, but on books that David Both, another veteran system administrator, wrote. And that is more a self-paced and self-guided thing where you actually buy the books or get them from your local library and work through those books, because David has designed these books as a course with exercises and experiments, and you can do the whole curriculum on your own, but the added value I can give you with the community course is that you can reach me and the Monospace community on our Discord, where you can ask questions if you get stuck or if you have questions that aren't covered by the books, and that way you find a friendly community that helps you overcome obstacles, and that's definitely something that especially beginners usually appreciate. So if you would like to get a more thorough entry into a Linux system administration in general, regardless if it's Arch or another distribution, then I can, of course, sincerely invite you to joining the Linux Master Course. The Community Edition is completely free, and since you are doing most of the work, and I want to help the open source community grow and develop, I'm offering this for free. You can, as my bot just mentioned, of course, support me and my work if you would like to and can afford to, but it's not mandatory. If you have more specific questions, feel free to post them as well. Well, are we on time? Okay. We still have more than 10 minutes of the time that I've reserved for this office hour. From the looks of it, I'm going to incorporate VVox into my whole process here. And I'll probably also subscribe to the paid account, which will also allow me to customize the design a little. Wow, that's an interesting question. Thanks for that. Which distribution is best to start learning DevOps techniques and practices? Let me think, because the answer isn't obvious. My instinctive answer would be any distribution, because DevOps practices don't actually depend on what kind of Linux distribution you use. They are more about collaboration between developers and ops people. And the tools that are commonly used for these DevOps practices, like configuration management software and things like that, aren't distribution dependent either. That being said, is there something where you would have an advantage of picking a specific distribution? I guess the only thing that comes to mind is using a more popular distribution, because you can get more packages and ready-made applications for these more popular distributions, such as Ubuntu, of course. But other than that, as Champendulzi said, whatever you like best, wherever you feel the most productive. I mean, it might be interesting to get more into the distributions that are leaning to cloud native processes, which means they are more inviting to use stuff like containers. So for example, I'm using Fedora Silverblue here on my workstation, and the way Fedora Silverblue maintains its packages or installs packages is that it does so behind the scenes, and it doesn't affect your running system. Updates don't get enabled until you reboot your machine, and you are discouraged to even install a lot of stuff because it's not designed that way. You are supposed to install stuff either in containers or if it's graphical applications as isolated flat packs. And that way you are a little bit forced to, for example, do container-based workflows. All my development work is running in actual containers, and I'm using Container Toolbox to manage these containers, because Container Toolbox does a lot of stuff to integrate these containers with my host system. I can simply spin up a Toolbox container and still have access to my full home directory, still have access to my files and things like that. Still have access to the X server or the GUI in general. I'm working in a container, and in terms of DevOps, where containers are everywhere, that might also be an interesting entry point, which could then, for example, get you closer to distributions like Core OS, which is completely container-based and more geared towards running stuff on the internet. That's also something. And of course, Linux discussion or discussion of modern Linux distributions can't finish without mentioning Nix and NixOS, which might also be interesting. But NixOS takes a very different approach to how to maintain your system. And if you're just starting out, it might actually be a learning curve that's a little too steep. Even I haven't tackled NixOS yet in a meaningful way because I simply can't afford to spend a lot of time on it. But yeah, maybe start out with a more traditional Linux distribution like Ubuntu, simply to find your feet, and then take a look at the so-called what are they called? The Linux distributions that you can't modify mid-flight. Oh, I'm blanking on the term. It's at the tip of my tongue. Good heavens. Thank you, Schropp. I keep thinking unchangeable or something like that. So even 8 years of Latin have not helped me at all with this. Yeah, immutable Linux distributions. So that would be a nice skill upgrade, probably immutable Linux distributions such as Fedora Silverblue or SUSE. What is it called? OpenOS. Oh dear. I'm getting tired, I think. It's time for the weekend. Not SLES, that's a more traditional Linux distribution, the SUSE Linux Enterprise edition. SUSE Micro... Oh, crap. MicroOS? Is it? OpenSUSE MicroOS to host container workloads with automated administration and patching. Yeah, I think that's that. SUSE MicroOS. And then go on to stuff like CoreOS or even NixOS. That is something that should keep you occupied for the coming years. That's also a very practical question. Does this platform handle a lot more messages sent at the same time, like queue it one by one so that you can mark it as answered done after you answer it, so that the next message gets picked automatically? Yes, that's possible. I have a dashboard where I can see all the questions that come in and scroll and see what's already been answered and things like that. So, for example, we could actually start deleting messages so that there aren't that more questions. On the other hand, maybe deleting questions isn't really the right thing. Yeah, if they have been answered, it's fair to delete questions. I was hesitant now because there's the thumbs up feature as well, where people can boost questions that should be answered first. And of course, yeah, it shouldn't delete questions that haven't been tackled yet, but stuff that has already been done could actually help clean things up. We have dealt with the Arch Linux question, the Q question. We talked about the Linux distribution. And now we have 3 questions that might still be interesting. So I leave the DevOps question here. So maybe we want to cycle back to that. We've actually dealt with that. So I delete that. Maybe it's also a good practice to move them to a folder, just so I can... wait, there's an archive. Oh, move to archive, so I can remove them from the screen, but they'll still be in the archive, so I can actually get them back, which is not the case if I delete them. All right. So let's move that to the archive as well, which leaves us with, do you know any good soundboard software for Linux? Depends on what you want to do. There is a soundboard feature in OBS, for example. So if I wanted to have a soundboard here right on stream where I can trigger effects, then that would definitely be an option. Other than that, I haven't tried any yet. There's not something that I could recommend in this case, but maybe chat has something in store for you. Let's catch up with chat as well. That's something that I need to keep in mind, that I don't just look at my Q&A dashboard, but also see what people post in chat. Dualcy wrote whatever comes to that. We already had that. I started using my Windows machine. Yep. So that's also a journey that many make, starting out with a Windows machine, maybe that one that has been provided by work, and then realize that you can be much more efficient by using Linux either in WSL or natively. That's actually how I got back to Linux on the desktop. I started using Linux in 1993. And back in those days, setting up a graphical user interface was really, really hard. You had to have the right graphics card and stuff like that, and you dealt with driver issues all the time, and I can't count the many times I had to edit my XF86 config file. Eventually I switched to the Mac platform because it was quite the opposite. It was so nice and built with love, and there was all this indie software built by single person or small businesses, but quite a consistent user interface, and that really drew me in. And I then used Macs for at least 10 years. And but I got fed up with the sandboxing that crept in more and more, and I also wanted to get more gaming performance. I still remember getting an i9 based iMac to only be able to run my stream, and that of course also benefited my gaming in terms of the graphics levels I could use. I'm only playing less demanding games like World of Warcraft, graphically demanding games. But yeah, that was definitely something. But I realized I shouldn't have to buy a high-end machine simply to play games, especially as casual as I do it. And so I got myself a Windows machine. And I thought, yeah, not only will I be able to use an NVIDIA card, I'll also have a little bit more hardware support even than I had on the Mac. But I then quickly dual booted into Linux and found myself using Linux more and more, and realized, yeah, Linux can cover, modern Linux can cover all my needs. And in the end, I nuked and paved the machine completely with Linux. That's when I started using Manjaro full time, and yeah, and now it's Linux as the desktop. So I guess 2022 was for me the year of Linux on the desktop, and I've been happily using Linux ever since. Trump actually mentioned Nix. Yep. Which does everything in its own way, but it's all contained in itself. Yep. Let's see. Dual zero. I have a pretty beefy Windows desktop workstation, also run several VMs for dev and testing purposes. Yeah, that's also a way to go about it. Simply running Linux VMs on a Windows workstation, then Windows doesn't really matter anymore. I know wrote I tried Windows before and it's okay, but I prefer Linux-based virtualization. Yep. Okay. Alo Milo asks, in your decade of experience, is this the worst job market you've seen? It's definitely one of the worst, especially with all the layoffs going around at the moment. With layoffs seemingly becoming a management tool, which is expected. That's something that I'm really not used to. I mean, layoffs have been happening all the time, but not as massive as recently. And layoffs used to be the last resort. For example, I had to lay off people in my own business years ago when we lost a few key customers, and it became clear that we weren't able to meet payroll anymore, and so yeah, there wasn't any way to prevent that or to go around that, and I had to have the hard conversations. But especially with the bigger companies and the US-based companies, layoffs seem to become a normal part of the management toolbox, and I find that quite appalling, to be honest. So Shrump was the one who asked the soundbar questions. I need click, play sound, rest can do with Pipewire. I think I've seen quite a few of these applications around. I just haven't used any. Maybe I can find something quickly for you. Simply using FlatHub. Soundux, that's what you already mentioned. It doesn't work on Wayland, okay. Then there's the nicely translated Tonbrett. But that's a companion app for the Discord soundboard bot, so that's Discord specific. And so FlatHub doesn't offer anything more. If I needed a soundboard, I would probably use my Stream Deck for it. And I'm using Deckmaster as the driving application behind my Stream Deck. And Deckmaster can simply execute commands or shell scripts where you could then wire up the sounds that you want to do. That's probably the direction I would go in. Apparently we switched to chat-based questions now. Why do you want just asking, you guys learned Linux the hard way, now I'm here who's still struggling to pre-configure Debian-based Linux. Hey, Linux hasn't lost any thing in terms of complexity, so regardless if it was the early days, which was certainly the case for me. I started Linux in 1993, where everything was pretty new. But don't feel bad about having to wrap your head around all these things. These things tend to be complicated. Anand asks, what about hiring processes? I am almost completely self-taught in Python and Linux, and I struggle to get in a junior position due to the lack of professional experience. That's also something that I actually have trouble reconciling. How is a junior position requiring professional experience? the actual definition of a junior position is you don't have a lot of experience. So, yeah, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that those companies that try to hire you as a junior developer or a junior administrator or a junior IT person in general, and don't because of your lack of professional and practical experience, because what that tells me is we are not actually looking for junior staff, we just want to pay you as such. Sean just hacked something with A-Play and GTK. Yeah, that's also something that's great. Is it you who mentioned? No, Einod was the one who mentioned Python. But having script languages like Python and Ruby with direct GTK bindings where you can quickly whip up a graphical user interface, that's definitely something that is a lot of fun. A junior Python position that requires 2+ years experience as a Python developer. So what would be the position for someone who is just only starting out as a Python developer but can still contribute something of value? What's that then? Janitor? That's a bit like Google only hiring PhDs for even auxiliary positions. I mean, I guess if you are Google, you can get away with that. But yeah, it boggles the mind that you need to have at least 2 years experience even to be hired as a junior. If I were to hire juniors, which might happen this year or maybe next year, depending on how our next steps do look like, I would definitely also require some kind of experience, but more of a practical approach to things. So I would hire someone who just finished college, for example, or just came out of school, but has stuff to show in terms of doing practical work, doing their own projects and things like that. But I don't think I would require 2 years of experience in a specific area to hire for that experience. That's really strange. Do you feel Werkstudenten have experience, which means basically interns have experience, or would you say it doesn't count? Actually, many people have to do something like internships to even be able to present some kind of experience. As sad as that is, it's really, it could be something, but that would be a very individual thing. I would have to look at what they have been doing, and if I would say, yep, that gave you a little bit of experience, that does show me that you did practical stuff and that you were interested and got into it. But yeah, that would be only one facet that I would look at. If someone would tell me, yeah, I've been doing open source work, or I've been doing stuff, I built whatever. I built a home lab and started running a web service from there, and connected it to an NFS server to serve images or stuff like that, where I can see, okay, that person is able to get into things, to learn about new services and things like that, teach themselves how to administer, say, Nginx or something. That's far more valuable for me than, for example, certificates or things like that. I wrote my IT experience is as a customer support specialist in a hosting company working with WordPress and other CMS platforms, plus Linux and Windows. sounds quite interesting. So he had to deal with technical stuff as well, and with the operational side of things. That has to count for something. I have no idea how the market is looking at the moment for jobs that where that background would be helpful. But it sounds helpful. It sounds useful. Trump says, I've recently had a discussion with someone who said he does not care if a student has worked by the side because a non-full-time job does not count as experience. That's bullshit. I mean, I know students who did more work on the side than actual work on their degree. That includes myself. I think it was so close for me not to graduate. It basically hinged upon a single class, and I think it was just the mercy of that professor to give me just so a passing grade, so I wouldn't lose my degree. They probably also wanted to get rid of me because my college time was way over time. And that was simply because I did so many things on the side, including starting my own businesses and things like that. So, and there's also people who are passionate open source developers who maintain their own projects, who not only develop them, but also deal with people sending in issues and sending in pull requests and having to deal with rejecting some pull requests because they don't fit the scope of the project and things like that. So that's much more than just coding experience. Someone who is able to maintain their own project with all the communication and community stuff that is connected with that. Hey, that really requires skills, and that's experience. That's valuable. People who are actually used to having to deal with the human side of things, who actually know how to fit into a team or handle customers, even pesky customers. How can you discount that as not being real experience just because it wasn't embedded in a full-time job? That is stupid as fuck. But hey, I guess if you think that way, then it's better people start working elsewhere than at your place. I completely agree. There is actually an article I love from Gabe Ganvas. I don't quite recall the name. It's the author of oh dear, my brain doesn't really work today. What's the software I'm using for my own stream? I'm running my own stream, actually over on live.obsitive.com because I haven't shut it down yet. And that is based on Owncast. And the author of Owncast did actually publish an article a while ago. Gabe Owncast Common Sense. Here we go. And the point he makes in that article is that companies that scale, at a certain point they lose common sense because basically revenue becomes the only key metric, and that requires you to not spend time with communication with your customers, not spend time with proper management practices and things like that. So what I see only confirms that. Companies that become bigger and bigger, mostly fueled by VC money, tend to pass a specific point where they stop applying common sense. Trump loves working but hates everything about studying. I can relate. But hey, get your degree at a decent level and be done with it. It does teach you quite a few things, and I would definitely do quite a few things differently if I were to study again today, which would probably be fun. I just would have to find someone who would sponsor me during that time. Yep, that's definitely the case. Common sense is, surprisingly, not as common as you'd think. Hey, Trump, the brilliant thing is to love learning things. That's what keeps driving myself as well. Every time I stop learning and start getting bored, I do a shoddy job. I joined a company right when I finished studying computer science. I joined a company because I needed a job direly. I had tanked the business that I started during uni, and so I had a bit of debt, and I needed to pay that off, so I needed a job. I started a job as a web developer, and it did pay okay. So I was able to pay back a lot of the debt that I had, but the job itself was really boring, and I didn't really do the best I could. Instead, I was looking for new things that I could do, and that ended with the company just not renewing my contract. And fair play to them, I guess, because when I get bored, I don't do a good job, and so that's why I keep myself challenged. Not only by running my own business for 13 years now, successfully this time, but also by doing things like the stream, by doing new stuff like my course platform as the Monospace Mentor. All these things are simply because I do enjoy breaking new ground and trying new things. So I don't think you should regret to love learning things. You just don't like learning the things that people force you to, which is a completely different story. One thing, for example, and I know I'm completely going over time here. We are already almost half an hour over, so I will have to wrap things up because I have an appointment with my daughter for a coffee, and something that I realized only recently was I was looking for programming languages that I could learn, and that would be a little bit nostalgic. So I did a lot of programming languages during my career, and if I only learned them out of interest and then dropped them again. And I thought, well, how would it be to do something like Pascal again? So there's Free Pascal, which is a great programming environment. They even have an IDE that reminds me of the old Turbo Pascal days. But then I realized there are other Of course, there are other languages that were then inspired by Pascal, like Modular 2 from the same author. Rest in peace, Niklas Wirth. He passed away recently. I think on January 1st, actually. And then there was also, or there is also Ada. Ada is highly inspired by Pascal in syntax, but it's quite a bit more capable. It even has features for concurrent programming. And I thought, well, it might be interesting to do Ada and write a Twitch bot in Ada or something like that. And I realized we did actually do some Ada programming in college. I just didn't realize that the language was quite capable. I did the exercises the prof wanted us to do, and only then I remembered, yeah, we did do network programming. We programmed some basic TCP server and client application which would then communicate through the network. And so that would have been really useful to get more deeply into in terms of usage on the internet and things like that. And I didn't realize the importance of this lesson and these exercises and the relevance for decades to come, I guess. So Schromp, pay more attention than me if the things that you are actually forced to learn might actually be more useful than you can tell from at first glance. Thanks for the compliment, while you weren't just asking. That's really kind of you. I'm not sure if it's warranted. I mean, I have the advantage of decades of experience. Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure if what I say is actually really helpful. I hope it is. And that's why I do these office hours on Friday afternoons. It's a great way to finish off the week. And yeah, I hope you can take at least a few little things from what I've been rambling about. Right. Yeah, exactly. When you realize, wait, I did learn that and then forgot about it again, and now I have to relearn it. That's something that is a little bit of a waste of time. All right, folks, I guess it's time to wrap things up for today. I'll be back next week with my live streams on Tuesday, Thursday, and then, of course, the office hour on Friday again. And there's also going to be our Discord hangout on Tuesday night, which is also always a nice, casual, relaxed chat between nerds. So if you'd like to join us there, I'll post the Discord link to chat. And yeah, this was fun. Thanks for helping me with testing out Vivox. That is probably going to stay. And of course, also thanks for chatting. It's been a real fun, and I hope to continue that conversation when I get back next time. I know, thanks for the reminder. I still have half of a cup of coffee left. I didn't even enjoy that yet. But thanks to my isolated mug here, it's still at least lukewarm. So I'm going to enjoy that now. And of course, I guess you were referring to the coffee date I have later. Yeah, thanks, folks. This was a lot of fun. The success of this stream, at least by half, depends on what you as the viewers do, and you didn't disappoint. So thanks. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend, and I hope to talk soon. Take care.